because those were market forces who released that potential, and who fought very deliberately and efficiently different kind of Soviet phenomenon, corruption, and so on. Now it is postponed. It's exactly what Putin wants. So we are not giving military aid, and we are kind of succumbing to economic pressures. And if we say, oh no, it's not about military, it's about economy, but on the other hand, we are postponing the military reforms, and we agree, we actually applaud it. There is a strange feeling in the Baltics, and I maybe go too far here, but that, we saw it already. We saw it between the Second World War. It's a big power game. Somebody's playing big game there with things and means that seems to be kind of abolished, but the psychology of it goes and spreading. We have more and more big power play in Europe. It reminds me 19th century. It reminds me something we saw before the Second World War. And as some people say, well, it reminds me that Ukraine is on sale. We are selling the country. And we see it. We do not make it so openly like usually Lithuanian ambassador does, but it's happening. Is it good or bad? I think it's very bad because it creates a big precedent that will ruin our security, Euro-Atlantic one including, despite all the niceties we have and all the nice theaters and photos we have. I go further. We mentioned enlargement. Enlargement is disappearing from our agendas, NATO and EU including. And I think Carl Bildt was right in criticizing new commission, saying where is exactly enlargement portfolio there. It means that we do not have our agenda, we do not have the guts to spread our values and spread this transformational spirit so much well reflected in the Baltics. We are kind of on the defensive. We are becoming the victims of the agenda of other guys in the region, bad guys actually, and we just react. And reaction is not a good strategy at all. I go further. The things that maybe, Francois, you like, I know, sorry for everything I told before, but TTIP. When we've been listening to President Obama 2 years ago in State of the Union address, I thought up till now we would conclude the deal because I heard you have midterm elections arriving, you have new commission, new bosses in Brussels arriving. It was naturally time to conclude the deal. Where is the deal? It's somewhere, in internal politics in America or maybe in Europe, and I think that's wrong. Because if the world is going worse, we have to do at least something to clear our house and to make it perfect, to make it work. And here I go to energy security. I would agree with Congressman that we do not have a kind of transatlantic response on energy security facing the challenges we have from Russia. I'm happy with what we did in Europe. It's not enough, but it's already kind of okay with energy bridges, with unbundling, with get rid of third country monopolies. But let's concentrate on LNG here. First argument, what I hear from American big officials, they say, oh, in Europe you don't have an infrastructure. Wrong. We have an infrastructure in the West and now in the East. Lithuanians will be inaugurating our first Baltic LNG terminal on October 27th. I'm searching for American gas and I'm not able to find it. It's sold out. It's already, even the gas that will be appearing in 2015-16 in those terminals, it's sold out completely. So we have a little problem here with timing. Americans are very slow. They think internal policy, elections, another elections, climate change groups, lobby groups. Guys, the clock is really ticking so quick, we are losing people. People are being killed in Europe. And we need to get rid of those energy monopolies who outsource big money out of big monopoly prices they create because gas market is not existent, and then fueling their own armies that killing us in Europe. That's kind of bad. So timing is wrong. And there is no focus. If you say America cannot solve those issues, okay, let's look to this nice little Baltic region. In this nice little Baltic region that is very effective, innovative, creative, competitive, and so on, we have Lithuanian terminal now ready. Poles will do it in March next year. Big terminal, not even to compare with ours. Finns and Estonians are trying to settle their little discussion, but they are most efficient nations in the region. They will do it. I'm quite sure. You will have small or big terminals there. So let's build a little terminal somewhere in Pennsylvania where every third is Lithuanian. You know, let's license it, and you have problem solved. Why can't administration do it? I cannot get it. So to summarize everything that I told, you know, we are good on details, but we don't have, you know, the whole picture. We don't see the whole vision. We face south, we face southeast, we face east. We maybe do a bit of the military for the Baltics. We don't see Ukraine. There is no comprehensive kind of multifaceted approach. And I think this capital is exactly capable of it. Mm-hmm. It was doing it for ages. That's why we're back on the blocks, you know. But now something happened, and you know, well, somebody is very happy that we are so divided because they can rule us very easily. But I think, you know, we have to do something with it, and we have to be a bit more strategic and visionary like we've been, and we can do it like this president was saying. Mm-hmm. We can do it.
Well, it's a great linkage between sort of the strategic vision under NATO that we talked about before, and whether or not we were heading towards sort of an expansionist vision, or what the vision actually is, right? And I thought it was very interesting, Representative Keating making the remarks that at some point in the not too recent past, we were looking for a vision for NATO. We were looking for something to do, and now we have plenty to do. But the question is how and what sort of the grand vision should be. I certainly take your point that it takes a long time to do things in Washington. I would just respectfully offer that the counterpoint there is it takes a long time to do things in Europe as well. So now that we all have urgency behind us, the question is actually very interesting to me because it's put in very precise terms on the defense side, because you have budget numbers, right? How much are we willing to spend for military? How much are we willing to spend for people and capabilities? And there's a very sort of transparent process for seeing that. I think it's a little bit more difficult to unpack on the energy side. And so you talked a bit about the pace at which we're exporting LNG from the United States and not being able to find supplies for the LNG export capacity that we have sort of currently planned and currently in the works. And I will certainly be the first to admit that it has taken us a bit of time to figure out how our LNG export permit processing is going to work when we have LNG to export. But the bigger question seems to be not one of gas adequacy, right? I think most people have concluded there is a lot of gas in the United States, and indeed there's a lot of gas around the world that can come to the market, and this proliferation of LNG importers can indeed be met by gas at the right price. And so there is a question of volume adequacy and the infrastructure to get things where they belong. And I agree that there is good capacity in terms of LNG import capacity within Europe. But the question is will U.S. gas make it to Europe at the right price? And how does U.S. gas compete in Europe versus, or how does European gas demand compete with Asian gas demand that we've seen that has, heretofore sort of locked up some of those prices? That's probably going to evolve over a period of time. And that maybe give Ambassador Suleymanov an opportunity to weigh in here, both on sort of the larger security context, but also in terms of Azerbaijan obviously having a very different energy position than a lot of different European countries with sort of robust energy resources and seeking to make a contribution to this energy security landscape within Europe. And that maybe allow you to make some opening comments as well from your perspective, and then we'll sort of dig into some of these issues.
Thank you, Dr. Vladislav. First of all, I would like to thank CSIS for this timely panel. It's an honor to be on the panel with you again. I know last time we've been in Georgia Tech, and it's great to be with my fellow ambassadors here. By the way, I would like to welcome some other ambassadors and our good friends who are in the audience, especially the Ambassador Dorsey, who used to be American ambassador both to Azerbaijan and Lithuania. So now she's happily retired and doesn't have to suffer anymore from either Lithuanians or us. And well, you'll tell us privately who was more difficult. But I think the key issue here, which was highlighted, is the issue of strategy and strategic vision. How do we move forward? And as you understand, and we all understand, that energy security of Europe and energy security globally is a global issue. It cannot be addressed in one particular area and ignored in other areas. And that has always been what Azerbaijan has been advocating for. Yesterday, we had a very good celebration at JFK, and at the Kennedy Center here, of 20th anniversary of signing the what we call contract of the century. That's the precursor to the Baku-Tbilisi-Ceyhan, which changed the region. It changed the region in more than one way. It does not only deliver oil to international markets. For the first time, independently, it brings Caspian oil to the world markets in the Mediterranean port of Ceyhan. It's transformed Azerbaijan. It transformed Georgia. It transformed Turkey. It made Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey work together. So now, building on that experience, on September 20th in Baku, there will be a groundbreaking ceremony for the Southern Gas Corridor. So what is the Southern Gas Corridor? Southern Gas Corridor is expected to bring major volumes of gas from Shah Deniz 2, which is Shah Deniz 2 project, which is part of the bigger Shah Deniz project offshore in the Caspian Sea. Why does it matter? Well, we talk about different ways of providing for energy security in Europe. Shah Deniz gas, the Southern Corridor gas, is the only additional piped gas which will be coming in Europe in the foreseeable future. We could go dance a lot about this. We could talk about different things. Then October comes, then November comes, it's cold again. We'll all forget what we talked about, and we'll go back to our habits, which we will again discuss in May when it's getting warmer. But what we need is not the discussion. What we need is action. And I have to tell you, I agree with Ambassador Pavilionis that it takes a long time for Americans to take action, and I have to agree with Dr. Radosov, it takes even longer for Europeans to take action. Therefore, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Turkey have made a decision together to begin building the backbone of the Southern Corridor, which is a TANAP, Trans-Anatolian Pipeline. That's financed by Azerbaijan, Turkey, and goes to Georgia. When we first began doing that, people looked at us and said, why are you doing that? I didn't see much of enthusiasm. Now, people come up to me and say, can you accelerate that? And I say, well, that's actually a real thing. It's not like, you know, it's not a cake. You can't really put it up and it gets better. But I think the contribution of the Southern Corridor, which it will make to Georgia, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and more importantly, for the new region, for Greece, for Albania, it's an important project on development of Albania, and for Italy, is an outstanding project. Now, this is the first step. We're looking at it, and it will provide the highway for the Caspian gas coming to the European markets. And then in the future, if others want to join, that would be, I mean, we can't speak for the others. Our gas is there, we'll offer it, and we'll work with our partners in BP and other companies to make sure it happens. Now, you know, the project is $45 billion in general. It's a major investment. It's already subcontracted, most of it. It brings about 30,000 jobs to the region. I'm very happy to say that just recently the Italian government has endorsed the environmental study.